Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Once again, we are going to talk about the same issue that we were discussing yesterday, but with an added issue. If you remember, we were talking about the tweet that came from Washington and then our reaction. Today, what we are going to do is we are going to actually talk about a very important thing, that is Pakistan's narrative abroad. How we are going to project that, we are going to discuss in today's show. And in order to help us understand these matters, we have with us Ambassador Burhanul Islam Sahab, a career diplomat. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Mohammad Khan, again a regular in this show, an expert on foreign policy. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Brigadier Retired Aftab Afzal Sahab. He is an expert on strategic issues, has been appearing on this channel and this program as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Ambassador Sahab, I have to start with you, sir. And we have to first ask, how do you gauge Pakistan's response so far when it comes to Donald Trump's tweets yesterday?
Well, Farrukh, I think Pakistan is taking it little cautiously, not making big statements at this stage, going slow, I think gauging as to how our response should be, considering all aspects of the relationship and how and why the American president had to decide to speak the way he has done. His statement has baffled and everyone in the ministry or in Islamabad or the government, because nobody expected that President Donald Trump will go the way he has gone on the first day of the year, as if he has charted and made up his mind that this year the Pakistan should be the target. The way he said, his statement was clearly sort of an insult to Pakistan. And sometimes you are not prepared to respond to such a situation. Possibly Pakistan never thought that Mr. Donald Trump will go to that extent after his 21st August good enough strategy for South Asia. That also gave a lot of questions in our minds. But then we thought gradually, after so many meetings at the level of our, we discussed in last meeting, our Prime Minister's meeting with Vice President, then followed by 3 high-level meetings. Our Foreign Minister went to Washington. Their Foreign Minister, Minister of State came, Secretary came.
And this is the bit that surprises so many. That our foreign policy was working, our defense policy interactions have been going fine, and all of a sudden this tweet comes. What do you think actually triggered it?
I think so many things. There are 5, 6 factors I can count, but what this timing and what prompted it, to my mind, I will give you the scenario. You remember the last 10 days, India was under tremendous pressure because of Kulbhushan Yadav case, his mother coming here and wife, and the type of embarrassment the Prime Minister of India had to take from the parliament and media in India. And I think India thought that to request the United States to come to its rescue.
Okay. So Nikki Haley actually steps in.
And told President that you wanted last year to make a statement against Pakistan and warn Pakistan and give a strong statement. I think she said this is the time to say something strong, because it will divert attention that has come too much on India after Pakistan did this.
You know, it is amazing, Ambassador Saab. Today I was told 5 or 6 theories, and this is the 7th one. An amazing thing is, with Donald Trump, you can never know what exactly is happening. But if Nikki Haley did this, remember Omar Rosa, one of the aides of Donald Trump, was sacked exactly for doing the same thing. But let me go to Dr. Mohammad Khan Sahab. Sir, your take on our response so far.
Thank you, Pitafi. Our response has been very, very, I would say, deliberate and very, very careful. We have not made unnecessarily the statements, except that Khwaja Asif has been vocal at time. And I think he was to be vocal.
But it wasn't insulting kind of tweet. It was actually an invitation to audit
That's nice, but you know that no one in the Pakistan was insulting to anybody,
Yeah.
like Donald Trump or Vice President did in Afghanistan. Pakistani officials, Pakistani Foreign Office, they were all very, very sober, very, very diplomatic. At all
Does it
times.
worry you when Pakistan, a country that was born only 70 years ago, behaves more maturely than world's best and most powerful
Yes.
democracy?
And yes, two things. This is surprising that Pakistan has behaved very well as per the international norms, as per the norms of diplomacy and the political engagement. But more than that, let me tell you that this time, starting from August 21st, 2017 till to date, Pakistan has never shown any inclination or sign that it should submit itself for the country towards or in front of the demands of United States of America.
Okay.
Perhaps we behaved very well, and we try to give them responses to all what they have asked.
Right.
And this has provoked President Trump. That
Actually,
despite
as we move forward in the program, we are going to talk about other triggers or other possible triggers as well. But let me bring in Brigadier Saab. Brigadier Saab, your take on our response. Do you think it was well calculated, calibrated and restrained, or we could be better?
I think our response has been very well calculated and within the norms of our diplomacy.
Right.
And we are pursuing already on our relations with the US. I would just like to highlight here what are those triggers, right? It is not that a statement or a tweet like this comes up and it creates confusion all around in Pakistan also and the world also.
Okay.
And
There was a context to it.
yes, of course.
But
because
have you seen today's tweet where he says that my nuclear button is bigger than North Korea's and it works?
Okay, you know, have you ever heard a president of United States giving such statement ever since Pakistan came into being?
No.
So he's a special man, he's giving a special statements,
Okay.
right? So to deal, we follow the Trump policy to reply such tweets, and he himself has used many words like foolish, fool. I think that is not very
Deceit,
appropriate.
yeah.
Deceit. So we are going on very right line.
Okay.
So amongst the irritants, it is the biggest nowadays the phobia with the American administration is their how to hide their failure in Afghanistan, and then they want to bring India into prominence, and the Pakistan and the whole region is not accepting them like that. And a new thing also in this is that the new sort of a mini spring coming up in Iran.
Yeah.
So it is also a sort of caution to Pakistan also.
Yeah, funny, by the way, that you point this out, because immediately followed by that tweet, there was another about Irani, unrest, and he was supporting it. So many people thought that maybe they are building pressure on Pakistan so that later on they need access to Iran border from this side as well to do something there.
Actually, what happened is that we are already not having a very, very friendly relations with Afghanistan nowadays. You know, there is a bumpy relationship, and we have slightly better relationship with Iran at the moment.
Okay.
So it is a message to Pakistan that you stay away from Iran and do not come for any such help
Okay.
in case of emergency over there.
Right.
So this is one thing. But overall, if we see, there is a CPEC, there is a nuclear advancement in Pakistan. And
CPEC is also important, and I'm going to
Yes.
talk about that later.
And one big
Yeah.
thing I would like to mention here is Trump is, I think, losing his popularity in USA.
Right.
That is the biggest problem. So he has been a master of acting and bringing his different faces time to time in front of the people. So he is now sending such tweets So, to stay in limelight, I would like to say,
Okay. Yeah, there's very interesting aspect to it as well, Ambassador Saab, that whenever he is bothered by something, for example, an investigation that is looming or something else of that sort, it is thought that he starts tweeting, hyper-tweeting actually, and there are tweet storms. And that might be the case, but it was followed by Nikki Haley's statement yesterday. And after that, it felt like it has become a policy. Do you think there are other triggers possible as well? For example, Jerusalem, where Nikki Haley had earlier said that they are going to punish. But remember, India is also one of the voters in support of that resolution.
You never can tell with the United States. It's a big power, so sometimes unpredictable behavior you will often see.
Yeah.
It could do anything, but my feeling is that they, as the American policymakers and those who do formulate basic drafts for the president and for the Department of State and Defense, they do work out many options, then prioritize, prepare a list of the issues to be focused the new year and the following year. So I think this year they must have about 8-10 major issues they have worked out. Pakistan somehow has taken the top notch now, and of course Palestine, after the difficult bumpy measures and responses from the international community, I think they're very careful. They must be thinking as to what to do next with Palestine.
Right.
I'm sure President Trump is not going to give up. He is the type of person that he is, looks for punching bags.
Okay.
So looking for another opportunity to come, and I notice that sometimes he doesn't mind if he's being criticized, he's being condemned. He doesn't give his stance and continues to.
Actually, he gets a high whenever you criticize him.
That's what I noticed. He's the type of person. So he can do anything, but as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think we should move forward and talk on some of the issues that are important.
Right, and we are going to talk about that. My concern is Pakistan has been fighting this war for 15, 16 years. And Pakistan has sacrificed enormously, not only financial sacrifices, but Pakistan has lost something like 70,000 people. But strangely enough, there is hardly any recognition of that kind of sacrifices, sparing or barring a couple of statements that come from there. We don't think that the American people know what kind of sacrifices ambassadors we have done. What can we do to actually convey this thing, that we have sacrificed a lot and we are a friend, we are not enemies?
I think a lot could be done, and there's a lot of failures we must accept. You see, in foreign relations, every country must prioritize its areas to focus.
Right.
And then United States is an important country for Pakistan, and we have an embassy there and an ambassador. I must admit that the statement of President Trump on 21st August, I mean, it is not that friendly, targeting Pakistan, putting all the blame for their failure in Afghanistan. And it seemed that our ambassador or embassy had no clue as to what was he going to say, and we didn't have an immediate response prepared.
Okay.
Similarly, this one also, I mean, I would think a professional diplomat would reach out to the American decision makers, the National Security Council, State Department, White House, and get a sense of what was coming before actually it came.
Right.
And then tell your government, sir, this is what is coming. In the past, our professional diplomats used to do it like that.
Yeah.
This is what it is coming, we must work. So look, these are the areas and these are the institutions which are not positive, favorable to Pakistan. We need to work on them.
Right.
This should be my strategy for 6 months.
But
Give me funds,
Right.
let me work on these people.
Right. Regarding funds, it is very important that we should be supplying that kind of funds or support as well. But the question was primarily not about embassy alone. Pakistani community is there as well.
Embassy has to
Right. Our
guide them.
intellectuals and Pakistan's voices, there must be some kind of lag, and I'm not only talking about today. There must be some problem with us that we haven't been able to tell American people in past 15 years that we are dying here and to save the entire world.
I will tell you my experience also. You know, embassies have limited paraphernalia to work with, but with limited resources, you try to identify the areas that you will work, institutions that you will work on, and then you ask Islamabad to provide funds. And for Washington, countries like USA, UK, Middle East, huge overseas community, the diaspora, they can play a tremendous role.
Right.
And we have seen other countries do it. I should name India as well.
Yeah.
Their community does a great job. So embassy, of course, the people themselves have motivation to work for the country, come forward with ideas. But at the same time, their ambassadors and consulates do work with the
Right.
program. In their case, possibly you don't need to fund because they are
Right.
huge community.
And
with
very successful one as well,
successful ones,
billionaires.
lot of funds they have. Possibly many of them come with their own ideas. That,
Right.
Mr. Ambassador, we want to do it, we just need your presence.
Right. So this is the organic approach that we need. And sadly, Dr. Saab, whenever we talk about our response, we have been seeing this complaint that has been repeatedly voiced, but hardly anything seems to be done. For example, there are two countries that we have been obsessing about in past 40, 50 years. One is Afghanistan, the other is US. And the opinion on the streets of both the countries will not be that conducive for Pakistan. Where are we lagging at this moment?
Patafi, we have been generally reactive rather than proactive. That has been the problem throughout, politically as well as diplomatically. The lackings, this particular lacking has been there. But you know that apart that what Pakistani embassy, not only in the United States of America, but elsewhere in the world, they should have projected the contributions of the Pakistan, as you mentioned, that 70,000 casualties in the form of deaths. But more than that, we have more than 80,000 those who were injured and all that.
You realize, put together, there are more than 100,000 stories that you can tell the world.
Yes, this
But
is
we
what I'm-
haven't been able to tell those stories to our own people.
True.
Can you think of any instance where we have been told that so-and-so was hero and he has been doing that, especially a civilian, a common man who did this or that? There used to be dramas made on them. There used to be so many other things.
Yes.
Now nothing is done.
Nothing is being done. It's just news in the television channel, and that news just vanishes.
And numbers,
Yeah, the
they
number-
keep on increasing.
That number increasing. No, I think that has been the area where we were lacking, and if we have not been able to have a sort of a projection as far as the
But
Pakistani
you
masses are
teach
concerned.
policy, sir. You teach policy, and you must be acquainted with the quality of intellect we have in the country. Why is it that our imagination seems to be on leave for past 16 years?
But Hafi, I think there was a time that the Pakistani narrative, Pakistani intellectual, they have been contributing world over. They had a say. Even the Pakistani art and culture, they had a say. Unfortunately, that's not there today. It is again the lackings on the part of this community, which includes the intellectual as well as the academician. But
Here
there is-
in the country as well as in the US?
as well in the US, the
Right.
community we have there. Just one thing,
I have
Patafi.
to actually talk about community as well, and I'm going to come back to you, sir. Allow me to go to Brigadier Saab. Brigadier Saab, since we are talking about our community abroad, the concern is there was an anecdote yesterday when CNN, feeling kind towards Pakistan, invited one Pakistani to its program. And the questioner is expecting that Pakistani to defend Pakistan's cause. And all of a sudden, she realizes that the former ambassador she has invited is Hussain Haqqani. And he goes there and kills us. What is wrong with us? That our community and our imagination cannot stand together, actually trying to defend our cause rather than any other countries.
Right, it is very clear. Just imagine the selection of people that we have been sending them abroad on such very important missions. Haqqani case is one. So,
But why not send more? You can send more people abroad.
But I would like to say that this failure is basically, if we call it a failure, it is twofold. One is outside Pakistan, the other part is inside Pakistan. Outside Pakistan, we are already discussing is that we have lost lot of space, especially in the United States.
Right.
And there is hardly any think tank or intellectual people going around working, because the embassies and the missions, they have their own limitations, and they have to perform so many other duties also.
Right.
But it is the basically involvement of the Pakistani community over there,
Right.
that they can undertake such things and go around and meet the people and their
And
legislators.
by the way, our community there is quite, influential, especially if you go and meet doctors from Apna or other institutions of that sort. You'll see that they are quite influential, rich and influential.
They can do a wonderful work over there,
So
but
our-
definitely they want some patronage from the embassy,
Right.
and they want some guidelines also how to go about that. Otherwise, everybody will be going independent on right and left. So the result will not be very consolidated in favor of Pakistan.
Yeah, about embassy also, last time I visited our embassy in Washington, that was a holiday, and I didn't see too many people over there, but people keep on talking about the capacity that has to be there. Indian embassy is said to be, said to have a lot of capacity. Do we have capacity there, sir? Intellectual capacity, the kind of muscle you need, intellectual muscle for that matter.
I
to
tell you,
actually reach out
if
to-
we have a will, if we have resolve, we can make the plan, we can send it to Pakistan, resources are made available.
Right.
There is not a problem. That
Yeah,
we
but don't you think this is like passing the buck? You expect them to do something, they don't do it, they keep on expecting us to do something, we don't do that. Somebody has to start pushing the envelope, right?
No, policy is always made here in Pakistan, in Islamabad, right? And that is sent across to all the embassies. That what is our narrative, how we would like to go about and tackle this issue.
Right.
And only then we can involve the community. Otherwise, I think there is of no consequence that we involve them and call them over a cup of tea.
Yeah.
But actual, whatever we have done so far.
Whole of the nation approach will imply that any Pakistani sitting here or abroad, in our embassy or elsewhere, would be contributing to national dialogue and helping in formulation of the policy. The problem seems to be that we all are waiting for somebody else to do his job, and then I'll do my job.
I tell you, during my last two visits in New York and Washington, I met a number of Pakistanis over there, and they were complaining. They said whenever we hold some function, community function, we invite the officer from the embassy, they don't turn up, they don't participate, they
When
don't
was
come.
it, sir? When was it?
It was just about, I think, May, June, I went there.
This May, June. Okay.
This. And I have been going there and attending those functions of the Pakistan community.
Right.
And they used to discuss these things, and there were a lot of, not really complaints, but they said that we want to have a better interaction with the embassy people, and we can do a lot of good
Right.
to Pakistan.
And that is a very important point. Ambassador Saab, do we have any systemic problem here that needs some kind of answering? Is it a capacity issue, sir?
It's combination of all these factors. You see, basically, a lot of things the embassy can do independently without referring back to headquarters.
Right.
Sometimes some outlines come from the headquarters with suggestion that if you do these things, can arrange in the next 6 months, some budget will be provided, or these particular head of account that you have, possibly you could consider utilizing that and arrange these things. For example, I can give my personal experience. When I was in a consul general in Frankfurt,
Right.
a huge 50,000 Pakistani community that I was dealing with, and we had all types of community members. Some are educated, doctors, engineers, those who had gone after the Second World War, studied there, married sometime with the Germans, most of the times not. they, with their experience of living with the German people, would come out with a lot of ideas that this is what the Germans do, why don't you do it? And if you do it, maybe you can mobilize your people, come out with ideas. Funds could be problem, but we can arrange it. And then you give ideas to them and they work. Functions, National Day functions, they do independently. Cultural show, they do independently.
Right.
Talk about their own stuff. Sometimes they invite Pakistani performers to dance, to talk, music and all that. It happens. Sometimes you don't have resources. For example, when I was in Brazil, I wanted to invite that musical group, that Satchel, and I saw on the net that the Satchel had a lot of contacts with the Brazilians.
People
they had
as well.
some joint functions also for music and all.
Wow.
You remember that great English songs and all that
Right.
they did with Pakistani instruments, very
True.
popular.
Yeah.
When I wanted to bring them to Brazil, they were too keen. They said, well, it would be a great idea, Ambassador, if you could do it for us. Then when we sat down to work out the funding and all that, they said the local hospitality, the visits and programs, everything we'll do, but you have to arrange their transport from Islamabad to Pakistan.
Right.
We calculated something. So half of the amount I got a Pakistani guy, and some of the companies, they said, we'll bear it, but the rest we could not arrange. Ministry said that, look, your proposal has come, but Brazil is not a priority.
Right.
So we have given to Middle Eastern countries and elsewhere.
Okay.
And you think about Middle East is such a big community, they can arrange funds.
They can. And that brings me to my next question about our foreign ministry. Do we give them enough funds to actually keep everything afloat?
Unfortunately not. Our portion of the budget that you get compared to other ministries, it's peanut.
Okay.
So when you give such huge tasks, these are not easy things to do. Mobilizing people, not you are only working on Pakistanis. Actually your job is to work with the local population.
Right.
So it is not easy. They are not going to contribute you unless you impress them with ideas and they want to come. Like the musical thing, they said
Right.
halls will arrange, their accommodation will arrange and all that thing. But we don't have resources. Sometimes we don't have personnel. When anything you talk about the new government, when it comes and talks about reducing budget and cuts, it falls on the foreign ministry first.
Foreign ministry.
Yes. So we don't have resources. Post we find out last government,
Right.
Mia Saab government, it came. They told initially that 6 or 7 embassies will have to be closed to save money.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Right.
Finally, our
Were they
ministry-
closed?
They only one was closed.
Right. And where?
Unfortunately, that was what I opened. After I came back, they closed.
Okay.
This-
Where was it?
Chile, Latin America,
Chile,
an
okay.
important country.
All right. It is very important.
It's a
country.
model of economic development
It
in
is.
Latin America and in the world.
And
It's a-
culturally also very
Oh,
powerful
great country.
That's very true. And Dr. Saab, this is the concern here. Why is it that we don't allocate the right, share of the pie for the foreign policy? And then most of the time we are obsessing about foreign policy and criticizing our foreign office as well, all the time.
Mudafi is criticizing foreign office. I think that's not the way forward. Not that criticizing diplomats implied or deployed elsewhere in the world, but definitely once you have to get result out of them, then you have to build their capacity, as
Right.
we have discussed earlier. But the biggest problem we have in the Pakistan, that is the image problem. Unfortunately,
And this is the problem, right? You have India that
Yes.
has humongous supply of resources.
Yes.
And the first thing they do, they project their own country later. First, they have to actually create a caricature of Pakistan, and they
Yes.
keep on doing it repeatedly. Same goes for Afghanistan now. Even they are using it that way. Where are we going wrong? Expecting miracles from our foreign office, our diaspora, and not spending enough money there.
Yes, that is one aspect, that we are not spending money or we are not providing the funds which are at least needed
Yeah.
in order to liberalize the people, in order to create a community which indeed ultimately promote your narrative. But then, as I was mentioning, that we have the image problem, particularly that people consider Pakistanis as the hard country, in the hard people, this is not the soft
So
community.
somebody
and all
has
that.
to actually start somewhere.
That's nice. That's what I am coming to. India, Afghanistan, and even United States of America, they indeed then cash on all these issues. Once they have little points, then they make it, I mean, the bigger issues out of those very, very small issues. What we need to do, that in Pakistan, we have to be very, very thoughtful academically, economically, and all that. Earlier, we were mentioning that how we can reach over to the international community. Indeed, the narratives, the people, those we have lost, and the cause which they have lost, we have to make narrative that this was the cause. Indeed, it was not the Pakistani cause. They were not only protecting Pakistan, but this global war on terror, indeed, it has been a phenomena where the Pakistan has contributed much toward the international community. For example, the drawdown of the NATO forces and the American forces from Afghanistan, Pakistan covered them. Pakistan gave them the exit, a safe exit for that
Yeah,
matter.
but sir, we keep on repeating these things here in Pakistan. We keep on telling ourselves, and maybe even in meetings with the Western leaders, the trouble is when it comes to our voice on American television, it is lost. When it comes to other media outlets, hardly anybody there. I've just given you example of Hussain Haqqani surprising an anchor of CNN. That, I mean, she was expecting Pakistan's perspective, and altogether something is very different.
Actually,
On the
Taqi,
other side,
about
remember, Donald Trump is a president who is accused of making policy watching Fox and Friends. How many Pakistanis have appeared on Fox and Friends?
no,
None.
no. Hussain Haqqani, I think he is not the representative of the Pakistan. He has written books against Pakistan. He has made narrative, and
But he was your ambassador.
he was our ambassador, and he is continuously making endeavors to defame Pakistan, because he is a man. I personally have I had a meeting with him once he visited NDU and all that, and thereafter, you know that.
No, you get me wrong. I don't have any problem with Hussain Haqqani per se. My point is, there will be people who will be critical of Pakistan. It's okay. But you should have more boisterous, robust
Yes.
response as well. Where
I
is
think
that?
that's not there, and I think your scholars should visit most of the institutions at the global level, and they should be the one projecting and highlighting the Pakistani sacrifices, and they should reach over to the international community, particularly the international society, particularly the academic circle. And these
I
people,
know,
those who
reaching
are,
out is important, talking to them is also important. The humble submission is you need creativity also in telling your story.
In telling your
And Brigadier Sahab, this seems to be the biggest problem we have. When it comes to hard power, we have ample hard power, and we manage to secure our country. But when it comes to representing Pakistan or telling the world our story, we have some kind of problem with the storytelling. We don't have that kind of imagination. We don't use that kind of creative approach in telling stories. Just one example. India might not be a great victim of terrorism, but in every other Hollywood movie, Indian story is being told, and they show Indians in positive light. And all of a sudden, India's intelligence agency, RAW, is never mentioned. Repeatedly, Pakistan's ISI will be mentioned, and in negative way. Why exactly are we not doing anything about it? We are not even using that kind of creative influence.
I tell you, I personally feel whenever there is a will, there is a way, and there is no dearth of resources. I have ordered.
There's dearth of will.
There is a definitely, and all what has happened now, it is not happened over a night. It is last 70 years that Pakistan is there on the map of the world, and we are appointing ambassador like Haqqani, and the party that sent Haqqani there to the United States, they are dreaming to come and power in Pakistan.
Okay.
I am very, very straightforward in this word.
Okay.
How we damage ourselves, we damage right from here.
Sir, but sir, with
Right,
respect,
and the
let
effect-
me just refresh the memory here. Hussain Haqqani, there was a time he was darling of this country as well. When you talk about that political party, it used to be one of the most angry supporters of a muscular foreign policy. there must be something wrong internally as well. We have to have that kind of debate. But we cannot be obsessed with Hussain Haqqani. My only disappointment yesterday was all over the place. He was present, and we didn't have any other person who could have been kinder towards Pakistan. Where are those people, sir?
No, it is, I tell you, not only Mr. Haqqani or the other people. It is not by will that people then go and sit on their desk like we are sitting here on the TV and they start projecting Pakistan. For that you have to build a narrative, you have to build a space, you have to plan and go around. Whatever we have lost.
70 years after our existence, we are talking about building that space.
And we were very, very, we were very defensive as long as India is concerned, whether it is our diplomacy, whether it is our other policies. So we were never ever aggressive. After till such time that we grown nuclear, then we gained some confidence, and then we started coming on that forums, and Pakistan was trying to implement its projection outside. And sometimes the soft image, and every time there is a change in policy, somebody is only working on the soft image and there is nothing. But I tell you, first of all, we should put our house in order.
Right.
You see, what is happening now in Pakistan, there is no political stability in the country. Don't you think the world is seeing? If we just want to project Pakistan through a media, and it does.
And this is also media, by the way, and we are saying here
and
on our channel that we are not stable.
No.
And then we are expecting the world to actually consider us stable.
No. The world is seeing what is happening. I tell you.
Why would they see?
The
it is
whole
an internal matter.
They have, everybody has embassy here in Islamabad.
That is
the
true,
embassy,
sir,
early
but
morning the
Pakistan
ambassador sends.
With due
sit
respect,
rep is-
Pakistan is not Syria. Pakistan is a country that has four walls and has controlled various problems. And it is a democracy that is moving towards democratization. With due respect, when we get critical, we get too critical as well. My question was, do we have people like Hussain Haqqani defending Pakistan? People of that stature sitting in the US? If not, why not?
We have people there, right? But those people have not been guided, those people have not been groomed and grown, right, to combat the people like Haqqani. And where is Haqqani sitting there for
going
last?
to groom them, sir?
It is the Pakistan government.
Right.
Who has
Which
to do
one?
it?
Only this one or the previous ones as well?
Every government ever
This
since.
should have been a successive line.
Yes.
And Padavi,
Yeah,
one thing
but
is very, very important.
the problem
we have
is-
Pakistani chairs. We have Pakistani chairs.
And they are not filled. I was told yesterday in
Yes.
this program.
This is something very, very surprising, Padavi, that we have not been. Indeed.
How many? 20 plus?
It's 26.
26 have not been filled.
Not been filled.
My
This is upsetting. And let me tell you that the role of these chairs that is projecting the Pakistani true face, as I was mentioning that or in image badly, it is I would say the started image has been projected internationally, whereas the truth is that you are a very kind human being and rest of the Pakistanis, few people, those who are involved in the terrorism, I think they are very, very few people and they are not at any case following the Pakistani narrative, Pakistani ideology, or the true reflection of the Pakistani society.
And with due respect, there seems to be a problem with the narrative itself as well. What exactly, how do we represent Pakistan, sir? As a nuclear power, we keep on talking about nukes. Most of our think tanks are obsessed about nuclear non-proliferation, nothing else in Islamabad.
True.
The ambassador sahab, there seems to be one reaction that comes to mind when you look at the entire state of affairs. Aise nahi chalega. Things cannot continue in this way. What can we change immediately? I'm sure that this voice can be heard in the Parliament of Pakistan, in the policy circles. Today I'm told Azaz Chaudhry Sahab is going to CNN as well to represent Pakistan. But I didn't mean our ambassador. I mean Pakistani community being heard everywhere. How can we do that, sir?
I think it is not a Herculean task. It's not a big task. It's not so difficult. Basically, you have to identify the challenges and the areas on which you have to work.
Right.
Pakistani community, everywhere we have talented people. If you guide them, take them along, they can do very good job. I'll give a small example. Yesterday I met a Pakistani gentleman, a professor. He did 2 PhDs, one on economics, one on electric engineering. He was with us in Germany, and very influential, knows German language, lived there 20 years or more. So he was a person who talk a lot and talk about himself a lot. But there came a time, I was then posted in Frankfurt, dealing with community not of Frankfurt, but not Germany, but southern
Right.
Germany.
Right.
And I was in touch with him, and a lot of good ideas we got from him. Then he had some problem with embassies functioning. Then we managed to bring him online. He was of great help to that ambassador, and subsequently. We have talent. We just have to identify, make a list of people in the academic universities working or studying, and people in cultural side, other sides. I think it's not difficult. To my mind, you need enough resources, but resources can also be generated locally. Ambassador needs to be, encouraged to
Empowered
go out,
as well.
empowered as well, not to do desk diplomacy only, sitting
Right.
in the desk, but they have to go out. It is possible.
Right.
We don't need huge plan and organization.
Right.
But only thing is the idea. Tell them that, look, we are telling the Americans, no more, do more.
Right. Yeah. No more bullying, actually.
No, I
Right.
mean, in other
Yeah.
words. So they should understand we have to stand up on our feet. We have to build our own narrative. We have to project ourselves. The best possible things in us must be brought up and
Right.
presented. Every individual would matter. So give them that inspiration, that idea that, look, we face a big challenge. Possibly we have to tell the Americans that we don't need your aid and assistance.
Right.
So please generate funds, do everything you can do yourself. So
Right.
2 slogans. The
Right.
Americans, we are saying goodbye to your aid and assistance, and also we are telling them no more, do more.
Right. Right. I'm told that we have to actually wind up the program, but this was a very important advice that you have given. Ambassador Saab, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Dr. Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being here. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much as well. Viewers, you have listened to our discussion. One thing has to be said. Somewhere, our imagination doesn't seem to be working the way it is supposed to. And that's why every kind of propaganda against us is heard, but not our voice. Something needs to be done to kickstart this imagination. And if our parliament can at least push somebody, if our standing committees can start pushing people and asking, why are we not creating that kind of intellectual work or creating people who can be heard internationally, it will be a great thing. Let's hope in coming days we realize that we can keep on shifting blame, but in the end we are sitting on the same boat. If it sinks, everybody sinks. If it swims, we all are saved. So if we have that kind of realization, our voice will be heard. As Dr. Saab earlier said, Pakistanis are good people. They have sacrificed a lot, and their voice should be heard. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.